Hello everyone, today we are gonna work on making a watercolor wash with a few different kitchen spices. You need about a tablespoon of whatever desired spice that you would like to use, and you will need boiling hot water. You can use a tea kettle like the one that I have, or you can put a cup of water in the microwave for a few minutes and get it to a desired temperature. The spices that I'm using today are ground cinnamon, ground clove, and paprika. They'll all be kind of a similar tint, brown to a reddish color. You can also try it with a variety of different spices like turmeric. I didn't have any of those in my house. These are the ones that I had at my disposal. So I decided to try it with these. The first thing that you're going to need to do is you are going to want to fill your tablespoon of seasoning with a little bit of water. You don't want too much because you don't want to over dilute it, but you also want enough to where you'll be able to pick up the pigment. So I'm eyeballing it, but not much more than just kind of coating the top of your spice. And you're going to want to let this sit for about 5 minutes to let it steep and let the spices start bringing out their pigment. Okay, so I have let all of my spices steep for about 5 minutes. All I've done is I took a paintbrush and just kind of swirled around the water and the spices so that way they didn't separate out. Typically, spices will settle at the bottom and the water will come to the top. This is just kind of helping keep everything together. You might want to do this right before you start with the color. So what we are going to start with first is going to be cinnamon, which is the pink bowl, and we are going to see what this looks like. More than likely, some of the spice will get stuck to the paintbrush and you'll see a little bit of it. If you don't like that, I would suggest just trying to kind of put your paintbrush at the top, but honestly, to get most of the pigment, you probably want a little bit of it on your paintbrush anyway. So the cinnamon one is a little bit more grainy. It's not quite picking up pigment like I was hoping, but that's okay. That's what this is for. Our next one is for the ground clove, which seems to be a little bit darker, so hopefully this one will work. So ground clove is definitely picking up the pigment a lot easier. As you can see, it's spreading really nicely. It also smells fantastic. So if you want your house to smell like gingerbread cookies while you're doing your artwork, or your artwork to smell like that when it's done, I highly recommend the ground clove. It by far smells the best. Like any type of tint that you do, if you do one coat and let it dry and add another coat on top, it will make it darker. The coat that you do first will become lighter. You can also dilute it with water and make it into a different tint. So that's all I'm doing with what I'm doing right now. I'm just adding a little bit of water to try to get a lighter tint with the clove and kind of mix it in a little bit more. So as you can see, it's darker on this side and it gets lighter on this side. And the last one was with the paprika. Hopefully this one will work out too. It looks a little bit more like the clove than the cinnamon. It's not separating out as much. Yeah, so paprika has like a very nice red tint to it. It is a little bit more grainy like the cinnamon is, but it also is picking up a nice tint like the clove was. This one also smells pretty good. It smells a little bit more like a spicier seasoning versus like a nice warm cinnamon candle, but that's okay. And same thing for paprika. If you add a little water to it, you can kind of change the tint that you have. So it'll be lighter on one side. If I let it dry or just go over it a little bit more, it'll be darker on this side. All right, so I did let my strips dry just a little bit, and I want to go back over it a second time just to see how dark I can actually get the pigment. As you can see, the cinnamon is really, really grainy at this point. The ground clove has a really nice color to it, and so does the paprika. The paprika is kind of like an in-between of these two at the top. So I'm going to go over it one more time and just see what will happen once the colors have steeped a little bit more, and once they have a second layer on top, to see if we can get that pigment a little bit darker. So second layer for the cinnamon. Again, cinnamon is still really grainy, but honestly, it kind of is a really cool texture that you could play around with for your piece if you're interested in that. Second round of the clove. And I'm just gonna do it on the end so you can get like a nice gradient going. So you can see how dark and how light you can actually play around with it. Okay. And then second round of paprika.